Hello, I'm Alex Opdyke, and today we'll be learning about sedimentary rocks. Now, what is a sedimentary rock? A sedimentary rock is a rock that has been formed from the compaction and cementation of sediments. Okay, so what's a sediment? A sediment is a fragment of rock that are present due to the weathering and erosion. Remember that weathering is the breakdown of rocks, while erosion is the moving of those broken down pieces of rock. These pieces of sediment settle down at the bottom of a lake or an ocean or whatever, and over time, more and more layers of sediment get put on top of that, causing a lot of pressure, and that will eventually cause the cementation and compaction of that sediment. So, all that pressure causes all the sediment to squeeze together, and then it squeezes together and it gets cemented together, which essentially gets glued together, forming a rock. And, well, we call that a sedimentary rock. Sediment can vary in size. There's many different sizes of sediment, ranging from clay, which is very small, clay and silt, which are very small, almost too small to be seen with the naked eye, to sand size sediment, which can be about 2 millimeters in diameter. Still pretty small, but relatively big compared to clay or silt. And of course, there's fine sand and medium sand in between that. And then we get to things called granules and pebbles, which are larger sediments, and our pebbles can be small rocks on their own. And we get things called boulders, which are very large sediments, essentially rocks on their own. And sediment can be a variety of shapes. It could be angular, rounded, and in between. And we can classify a sedimentary rock based off of how well sorted it is. Something that's poorly sorted has sediment of varying different sizes all over the rock, while something that is well sorted is something that is really just something that is one size and one shape. A lot of rocks that are made of clay or silt are very well sorted. A lot of rocks that are made of pebbles or granule size sediment are poorly sorted. And of course, there is a grain and a matrix of the rock. As you see in the graph here, the grain would be the actual sediment piece, and the matrix would be the kind of negative space, you could say. And the matrix is made due to the cementation of the rock when it was being formed. So we see a lot of rocks called sandstones, which can be seen here on the left. It is made of sediment that is of sand size, and it is very well sorted. It's all very rounded due to its size. And yeah, that what we call a sandstone. We would also see something called a conglomerate, which would be something that's very poorly sorted and made of a variety of different sizes of sediment, and is just kind of been cemented and compacted together in a relatively quick manner compared to something like sandstone or siltstone, which again, siltstone would be made of silt size sediment, but a conglomerate would be just kind of all over the place, really. It would often have angular sediment, just due to the fact that the sediment have not had time to be weathered and eroded as much. So you have a lot of sharp angles and things of that nature. Right, and so things that are made of that are called clastic sedimentary rocks. So those are just kind of rocks made of other rocks, essentially. But then we can also get this thing called bioclastic rocks, sedimentary rocks. And they're made of organic material. And up at the top left, we have something called a limestone shown. And that's a sedimentary rock, but instead of being made of smaller sediments of rock, the sediments are actually shells of planktons that had died, and then those shells went down to the bottom of the ocean and eventually built up and created their own sedimentary rocks. To the right, we see a picture of the limestone under a microscope. As you can see, we get a lot of these shells of these planktons. I believe diatoms were the organisms that make up most of limestone sediments. So those would be the shells of diatoms. But we also see another common bioclastic sedimentary rock. It's called coal. And coal was created from an ancient swamp, which was very energy dense, and it was eventually compacted and cemented together and formed a super energy dense rock that we call coal. And coal is kind of interesting though, because it doesn't have many of the features that sedimentary rocks typically have. Typically, sedimentary rocks are very well layered and are made of fine, sometimes made of fine grains, fine sediments, or larger sediments. But typically, they're very layered. They don't have a shine to them. But coal has a lot of the features of let's say, an igneous rock, but is actually sedimentary rock. Now, the third type of sedimentary rocks are chemical sedimentary rocks. Now, chemical sedimentary rocks are sedimentary rocks that have been made from chemical processes. Like evaporation and precipitation allow for a compound that was in water, for instance, let's say that's in water, to eventually form at the bottom of that body of water. That's how a lot of rock salt is made. Because in the water, eventually evaporation will decrease the amount of water, but the percentage of salt that has been dissolved in the water stays the same. It's not getting evaporated up. So you have too much salt in this water, so it eventually starts to form its crystalline structure, and eventually when all the water is evaporated up, you're left with a crystalline structure that, in this case, we would call rock salt, because it's made of salt. And they are, in fact, sedimentary rocks. But yeah, so rock salt is a good example of it. As you can see up here, rock salt typically is like an orange hue. Another example of a chemical sedimentary rock is chert. And that's made from silicon dioxide. Crystals that grow inside the softer sediments that would form limestone. So it's kind of a mixture between a bioclastic and a chemical sedimentary rock, but it is classified as a chemical sedimentary rock, which is pretty interesting. Alright, so now that we have a little bit of background information, here is a little bit of an activity. So, here are rocks that contain sediments of various sizes, and your job is to sort them from smallest to largest, and to tell me what features those sediments have. Are they angular or well-rounded? Are they sorted well? Yeah, and answers, you can feel free to pause to create your answers. I will move to the answers right now. So the answers, in order, it goes 3, 1, 4, 2. 1 has silt-sized sediment. It's rounded and well-sorted. 2 has sand-sized sediment, rounded and well-sorted. 3 has pebble-sized sediment, rounded and well-sorted. And 4 has cobble-sized sediment, which is angular and poorly sorted. Again, we can look. Yeah, that would all reflect that. Take a look at number 2, which has the angular sediment. You can see it's very poorly sorted. There's a lot of smaller sediments mixed in with those larger sediments. And here's another activity. Just name the rocks that I've shown you throughout the lecture. Feel free to pause and do that. And here come the answers right now. So 1 is sandstone, 2 is limestone, 3 is coal, 4 is chert, and 5 is rock salt. Let's see. Yeah, so 1 being that sandstone, it's again has that layers evidence of sedimentary rock, and all of the sediment is of sand size. 2, we have limestone, which again is very fine sediment. I believe it's silt size sediment. And something I neglected to mention before is that bioclastic sedimentary rocks will oftentimes react with hydrofluoric acid due to the chemical contents of the shells that it's made out of. So if you were to get some hydrofluoric acid and put a drop on the limestone in number 2, it would bubble up. And that's something that on sandstone that would not happen. 3 is coal. Again, it looks like an igneous rock, but it is not. It is a sedimentary rock. And if you actually were to pick it up, you notice it would be very light. Another example, another more evidence of it being coal. 4 is chert. Again, that kind of mixture between a bioclastic and a chemical sedimentary rock. And then 5 is a rock salt. Again, that chemical sedimentary rock. A lot of fun. And then here's a works cited, and I'll just go on a little summary. So sedimentary rocks are one of the 3 major rock types, again, which is sedimentary rock, igneous rock, and metamorphic rock. Sedimentary rock is created by sediments being compacted and cemented together. And then sediment can be of various shapes and sizes. It can be angular or well-rounded. It can be poorly sorted, well sorted. Again, that sorting is how much or how well the sediment is like each other. So there's many sediments. All the sediment is sand size, or all the sediment is different sizes. Again, there are 3 types of sedimentary rocks. There are clastic, bioclastic, and chemical sedimentary rocks. And hopefully you learned something today and had a fun time. Thank you.